Hey guys, AB here from B&H, and we've decided to create a multi-part series that walks you through everything you need to know to get started recording audio for video. Whether you're on a film set with a dedicated sound mixer, or you're a videographer recording your own audio on the go, this series of videos should help you solve some of the problems you may encounter along the way. In this introductory video, I'm simply going over the basics, briefly covering everything from prepping your environment to laying out cables, which mics to use for specific scenarios, setting recording levels, and even adjusting those levels in post to get the most out of your recordings. Because some of the concepts in this video can be pretty involved, we will cover those in more detail in other dedicated videos in the series. That reminds me, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you'll know when the next video in the series drops. When recording audio for video, one of the most important factors to consider, even before you hit record, is your environment. Naturally, if you're shooting outside, you can't always control the noises around you, which we'll address later. But when you're indoors, there are a few precautions you can take. 1. Make sure to turn off or unplug appliances like ACs or refrigerators to eliminate buzzing in the room. 2. Turn off all mobile phones to prevent ruining a take with ringing or interference. 3. Check the light fixtures. Certain types of bulbs, fluorescent for example, can make buzzing noises too. 4. Don't forget to close any open windows. Noise from outside can creep into a room unnoticed, and if you only hear it when you listen back after the shoot, it's definitely too late. Now that you have your environment the way you want it, it's time to address how you're going to record audio. Choosing which microphone will work best for you will greatly depend on what you're shooting. For example, if you're recording a sit-down interview, using an omnidirectional lavalier mic on your subject would provide the right type of pickup to ensure that you capture consistent sound. You could also use a cardioid lav mic, since it rejects off-axis sound. Alternatively, you could set up a shotgun mic on a boom pole pointed at your subject and get a nice clean sound. You could even use both lavs and shotguns and mix the two together in post, which would give you a little flexibility in terms of sound choice, not to mention a backup in the event there was a malfunction in one of the microphones. For narrative endeavors, an omnidirectional lav works great for mounting in numerous locations on someone, but a shotgun mic may be better to help pick up a little more ambience of your location. In other situations, an on-camera mini shotgun microphone may work best if you're in a run-and-gun situation where you have to be ready to record audio wherever you point the camera. I'm going to go more in depth into different types of microphones later in this series. So now that you've chosen your preferred microphone for your shoot, how do you decide whether or not you should go wireless or wired? Both types of systems offer advantages and disadvantages, so it's important to weigh your options before making a decision. Wired microphones are best suited for static situations, such as our sit-down interview here. When you go wired, you don't have to worry about interference or dropouts from other transmission sources, and having a direct cable connection ensures the highest possible quality. However, keep in mind that your subject's mic is now connected to your recorder, so that will put limitations on where and how far away the subject can be sitting from the recorder. One other thing to keep in mind is that when using wired microphones, you want to make sure that they aren't in contact with any kind of power cable, as that could introduce unwanted noise into your line. If you're on the go, a wireless setup is the obvious choice. No need to worry about pesky cables and being tethered to your subject or the audio recorder. However, depending on your location, you run the risk of picking up interference from other transmission sources, so make sure you're aware of your surroundings before going wireless. Also, if you're on a budget, wireless mics, especially good ones, tend to be more expensive than wired versions, so keep that in mind as well. Whichever mic you choose, make sure you have it positioned as close to the source as possible. You've chosen the mic and you're ready to plug it in. But what do you plug it into? You have to make sure you choose the right tool for the job, and the ideal choice is an external recorder to capture your audio. In terms of inputs, the dedicated recorder will usually have much cleaner and quieter preamps than those you would find on most cameras. But keep in mind that in this scenario, your audio will be separate from your video, so you'll need to sync the two in post. Also, many recorders have tone generation, which creates a tone that allows you to align audio later. If you don't have a model with this function, you can simply clap your hands once and use that cue to align the camera and recorder audio. Also, it's easier to adjust the gain on a recorder compared to the camera, and you tend to have more options for tools like limiters and compressors on external recorders. There are models of recorders that simply mount directly under a camera and are operated by the shooter, but most dedicated recorders require their own setup and in some cases, a separate operator. Alternatively, you can record audio directly into your camera depending on the connections your camera supports, including XLR inputs, 3.5mm, also known as 1/8" mini jack inputs, or a third-party device or adapter that can accommodate a variety of input options. If you choose to record audio directly to the camera, it gives you the convenience of monitoring sound while you monitor video. However, you run the risk of recording audio with more noise in it due to the lower quality of the camera preamps. Again, depending on the camera you're using. Higher-end cameras, such as cinema cameras or ENG cameras, will have cleaner inputs than your typical DSLR or mirrorless camera. Once you're all set up and your mic is plugged in, you have to set your record levels. We take a deeper dive into this topic in a later video, but right now let's cover the basics. When looking at your recorder or camera, you will see meters showing the audio level coming in from your microphone. That audio is measured in decibels, and the peak of that meter will read as 0 and count down into the negatives. When setting your levels for the first time, it's extremely important to never let the audio level hit 0. This will pretty much distort the signal. All levels should fall in the negative number range without coming too close to 0. You want to give yourself a comfortable amount of headroom in case your mic subject suddenly gets too loud. This means that if your subject is speaking at a consistent volume, then their level should fall somewhere between -12 and -8 dB, with -8 being the loudest your subject gets. This will ensure a proper recording without coming too close to distortion. Depending on your setup, it's always good practice to keep an eye on the levels when recording in case the subject gets louder or softer as the shoot goes on. Adjusting the gain, sometimes called trim, will allow you to make sure you're getting optimal audio throughout the entire shoot. In some cases, you could set audio to record to your camera at a slightly lower level and to a dedicated recorder at a higher level. This way, you will get 2 recordings at different levels in case you're not able to monitor and adjust those levels during the shoot. Just keep in mind that if you use 2 different types of devices to record, camera and dedicated recorder for example, the audio will not sound the same. Also, some recorders have a built-in feature that makes 2 recordings at once, with the second being at a slightly lower level to ensure it's recorded correctly. Because every device has its own unique sonic characteristic, it's often hard to try and match that sound across multiple devices. Okay, so your levels are set, the shot looks good, and now it's time to record, right? Wrong. A very important step that often gets overlooked is recording room tone. Room tone is simply the sound of the room you're filming your project in, and it's extremely important to record that room on a set while the room is as quiet as possible, before you record anything else. Why? Because later on in the edit, if you need filler sound to match the tone of the scene you're working on, you can simply pull some samples from the room tone you recorded beforehand. Otherwise, it can be nearly impossible to find audio that properly matches the project. If you forget to do it before the shoot, take some time afterwards to record room tone. Also, use the same microphone or microphones used to record dialogue to capture room tone. More on that and other post topics in the following videos. One last tip before you record is to take time to put on your headphones and listen for any unwanted sounds that you might not hear with just your ears. At this point, you're ready to record, but there are some additional tools you may have at your disposal to help you get the best possible audio on set. Features such as limiters, timecode generators, phantom power supplies, signal boosters, and more can help you achieve the best possible audio. And once you're done recording, it's time to head into the editing room to clean up your audio and fix any errors. Join me in the next video in our Audio for Video series, where we take a deeper dive into choosing the right microphone. This is AB. Thanks for watching.